They call it hospitality. I call it an opportunity. This cabin, nestled deep in these ancient woods, is my sanctuary, my inheritance, my stage. The online listing promised seclusion, a digital detox, a communion with nature, and they fall for it every single time. Young couples mostly, full of naive laughter and that cloying city-scented optimism. Like these two. For the sake of this account, we'll call them Liam and Chloe. They just checked in this afternoon. Their car, a gleaming red monstrosity, looked utterly obscene against the backdrop of the gnarled pines. They think they're escaping the world. They don't realize they're walking theater. You might ask, what is my reasoning? It's a calling, you see. People are so predictable, so beautifully vulnerable, and so utterly, blissfully unaware of the eyes that watch them. I inherited this place, along with a mountain of debt. Selling was never an option. This land, this isolation, it's in my blood. But I needed a way to make it work for me, not just financially, but emotionally. And then the idea sparked. Why just rent a cabin when you can rent an experience? A carefully curated sense of unease, a thrilling psychological game played out in the quiet, unblinking eye of the forest. My security system is extensive. Discreetly placed cameras, powered by solar, camouflaged amongst the dense foliage. They offer me a panoramic view of the cabin and its immediate surroundings. And inside, well, let's just say I've always been fascinated by antique clocks. Some of them have very interesting, tiny mechanisms. I watched Liam and Chloe unpack. Their bright, colorful luggage was a jarring contrast to the cabin's rustic, muted tones. I saw Chloe's meticulous folding, her sigh of contentment, and Liam, already on his phone, completely oblivious. The satisfaction of seeing them so utterly at ease, so exposed. It was a warm, insidious wave that spread through me. They were truly unfeathered. Night 1. The real show begins. I waited until the lights went out, until the cabin settled into its deep, creaking slumber. Then I began. A loose gutter, which I had carefully attended to earlier in the day, now dripped a slow, maddening rhythm directly onto their bedroom window. Then, a subtle shift in the cabin's ancient timbers. I made the foundation emit a deep, resonant groan, like a sleeping giant stretching in its sleep. With a remote switch, I flickered the porch light, just for a moment, just enough to catch their eye, just enough to make them question. Sure enough, the phone rang. It was Liam. His voice was edged with a tremor of annoyance and unease. Hey, Mr. Thorne, just wondering, are the pipes a bit loud? And the lights are flickering? Oh, Liam, my apologies. Old cabin, you know, settles a bit at night, and the power grid out here can be temperamental with the old trees. Nothing to worry about at all. It's all part of the experience. He bought it. They always do. That's the beauty of it. You plant the seed of doubt, and then you dismiss it. You make them question their own senses. Day 2. They left for a hike, their voices echoing with a forced cheerfulness. This was my opportunity. I slipped into the cabin, the key turning silently in the lock. The air inside was thick with their presence, their scents, their lives. I moved quickly. This wasn't for money, not truly. It was for control, for the sheer thrill of transgression. From the bedside table, I took Liam's expensive watch, a heavy, gleaming thing. From Chloe's jewelry bag, I took a small silver locket. Not things they would immediately miss, but things that, when their absence was finally discovered, would make them pause, make them wonder. Then, I heard it, the crunch of their tires on the gravel driveway. They were back, early. My blood ran cold. A sudden, icy shock. I hadn't heard the car approach. Panic flared, sharp and hot. No time to get out. The pantry? Too exposed. The bathroom? No. The closet. The large, old cedar closet in the master bedroom. My heart hammered as I dove in, pulling the heavy, musty door shut just as I heard the front door open. The scent of cedar and old linen filled my nostrils, a suffocating blanket. I heard Chloe's voice, muffled through the thick wood. I really need to pee. Her footsteps approached, then stopped, right outside the closet door. My breath hitched, a painful knot in my chest. I could hear the rustle of her clothes, the faint clink of a hanger being moved. She was right there. Every fiber of my being screamed. I pressed myself against the back wall, trying to become one with the cedar planks. Then, the loud flush of the toilet. She moved away. The door remained closed. A wave of dizzying relief washed over me, leaving me trembling in the dark. Later that night, I thought I was safe. I could hear their soft murmurs from the bed, the rhythmic creak of the mattress. Then, Liam got up. I heard his bare feet padding across the floor. He came to the closet. He opened it. My eyes squeezed shut. This was it. He was reaching for something. A laundry basket, I realized. He pulled it out with a soft thud, without even looking up. He didn't see me, hunched in the deepest shadow, barely breathing. He just closed the door. Twice. Twice I had stared death in the face, and twice I had vanished. I was truly a ghost now. The middle of the night, this was my chance. They were deep in sleep, their breathing soft and even. I eased the closet door open, the old wood barely whispering. I moved like smoke, one foot in front of the other. The floorboards were old, familiar territory. I knew every creak, every groan. But then, a mistake. A single small, almost imperceptible mistake. My foot brushed against the metal umbrella stand by the door. A tiny, almost musical clink echoed in the profound silence. Liam's eyes snapped open, wide and dark in the gloom. He saw me, not the ghost, the man. He launched himself from the bed, a primal roar tearing from his throat. We grappled in the darkness, a desperate, silent dance of fury and fear. His fist connected with my jaw, a blinding flash of pain. I fought back, fueled by pure adrenaline. The thought of capture, a cold dread in my stomach. But he was stronger, fueled by righteous anger. He pinned me, his knee digging into my chest, the cold wood pressing against my back. Chloe, screaming, was already on the phone. And then came the well of sirens, distant at first, then growing louder, closer, a terrifying crescendo that painted the forest in a grotesque pulsing glow. Hands, strong and unforgiving, pulled me up. The cold click of handcuffs, the glint of a flashlight in my eyes. The game was over, or so they thought. Now I sit here, in this sterile cell, the night before my trial. The air is cold, the silence broken only by the scratch of my pen on this paper. They'll call me a monster, a deranged stalker. They will never understand the artistry of it, the thrill of the unseen, the intimate dance of control. Liam and Chloe, they'll sleep soundly now, thinking they're safe. But the memory of that night, the chilling realization that someone was inside their sanctuary, that will linger. A quiet, unsettling whisper in the back of their minds. And that, you see, is a victory in itself. They may have caught the man, but the ghost will always remain. The darkness. It's always the darkness that feels most like home now. A constant, comforting shroud. They call it a crawl space, but for me, it's a sanctuary. my sanctuary. They moved in just last month with their optimistic laughter and the clumsy thud of their moving boxes. They didn't know I was here. How could they? The realtor probably never even mentioned the old coal chute, long bricked up from the outside, but leading to a forgotten passage right here beneath the house. And the loose floorboard in the pantry, it was barely a secret, more a forgotten memory, a whisper in the old wood. I found it years ago, or maybe it found me. My predicament? Call it a series of unfortunate liberties, a misunderstanding with the system. I lost my job, then my apartment. The streets were cold, loud, and full of judging eyes. I needed a quiet place, a place to simply be. This house, even empty, had called to me for months before they arrived. It stood on a quiet, tree-lined street, a familiar comfort from my childhood, strangely untouched by the rapid sprawl of the city. I'd sit on the park bench across the street, nursing a cold coffee, just watching it, learning its rhythms, the way the morning sun hit the porch, the way the old oak tree in the front yard seemed to guard it. It promised solitude, it promised peace. And then the moving trucks came. Panic flared, sharp and cold, like a draft in the subterranean realm. My sanctuary, invaded. But as I listened, hidden in the damp, cool earth, the panic slowly receded. It was replaced by a strange curiosity. A new family, a mother, a father, and a child. A girl, I think. I can tell by the bright, high-pitched giggles that occasionally filter down through the floorboards. Vibrant and loud, unfolding directly above my head. It was fascinating. A new kind of intimacy, one born of proximity and utter anonymity. I became the silent observer, the ghost in their domestic machine. My schedule became intertwined with theirs. When the heavy footsteps pound overhead in the early morning, followed by the clatter of breakfast dishes, I can hear the father's booming laugh as he leaves for work, the mother's softer voice calling the child for school, and then the blessed silence, the gentle click of the front door, the fading hum of their car disappearing down the street. The house sighs around me. It expands. My time. The hidden door, the loose floorboard in the pantry. It's cleverly disguised, nestled between two shelving units. I lift it slowly, millimeter by excruciating millimeter. The old wood groaning its secrets to me. A faint shaft of light from the pantry window illuminates my path. The air above is different, warmer, lighter. It carries the scent of their lives. Fresh laundry, a hint of cinnamon from breakfast, the child's sweet, almost cloying perfume. I move like a breath in the stillness. I take their tea, that special loose leaf blend the mother drinks, slightly floral. I brew it in their kettle, in their cup. I watch their television, just for a moment, the flickering images painting ghostly patterns on the living room walls. I trace the spines of their books, feel the soft fabric of their sofa. I learn their patterns, their preferences. The father leaves his keys on the entryway table. The mother puts her glasses on the kitchen counter. The child leaves her favorite stuffed animal, a worn, fluffy rabbit, on the living room floor. These are not acts of malice. Not yet. Just familiarity, an intimate connection I choose to cultivate. Sometimes I take a small memento, a single forgotten hair tie from the bathroom counter, a crumpled grocery list with their mundane needs scrawled in hurried handwriting. These are my treasures, proof of their existence, and my silent participation in it. I collect them not for value, but for meaning, each item a fragment of their lives, carefully documented, silently absorbed. They have no idea how much of themselves they leave behind just by living. The scariest part, not for me, for them, the almost moments, the fleeting chill in the air when I've slipped back into my crawl space just seconds before they arrive, the sudden inexplicable feeling that they're not alone, a shiver that runs down their spine when they glance at a perfectly ordinary object that I have just touched. I see the worry in their eyes, the nervous glances they share, a draft, an old house settling. They don't know it's me. A constant unseen presence, a shadow that lives just beyond their perception. Soon, the sounds return, the low rumble of their car, the familiar jingle of keys, the excited chatter of the child. It is my cue, the return to the quiet, cool earth. I slide the pantry floorboard back into place, dust settling silently around me. They won't know I was there. They never do, but their presence, their warmth, it fills my dark little world now. And the house, it's not just theirs anymore. It's ours. And I'm not leaving, not until I decide it's time. The night was a canvas of restless shadows. I was just walking, drifting. The city lights felt too harsh, too judgmental. I preferred the quiet, winding streets on the edge of town, where the houses started to thin out and the trees grew taller. That's when I heard it. A low thrum, then a sudden burst of laughter, carried on the cool night air. A college house party. Of course, a beacon of careless joy, of easy connection. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. A strange pull, an almost magnetic force, drew me closer. I wasn't invited, no. But sometimes, the best experiences are the ones you simply take. The porch was already packed, a kaleidoscope of flashing lights and loud chatter. I just walked in, like I belonged, like I was supposed to be there. Confidence, you see, is its own invitation. The air inside hit me, thick with the scent of cheap beer, sweat, and something vaguely sweet, like spilled soda. Bodies pressed against me, a sea of unfamiliar faces, all flush with youth and careless abandon. I grabbed a red cup from a table, took a sip of the lukewarm, watered-down beer. Tasted like freedom, like anonymity. I mingled, nodding, smiling, throwing out a casual, "Hey, what's up?" The thrill of blending in, of being a ghost in their vibrant machine, was intoxicating. I watched them, absorbed their energy, feeling a strange sense of belonging if only for a moment. Then, the host. He was taller than the others, a bit older, with a sharp, suspicious glint in his eyes. He cut through the crowd, heading straight for me. My heart gave a little lurch, but I kept my smile in place. "Hey man, haven't seen you around before. Which dorm are you in?" he asked. I tried to play it cool. "Oh, I'm just visiting. Here with Chris and Anna. You know them?" His eyes narrowed. He looked me up and down. "Chris and Anna? Don't know any Chris and Anna." "You're a little old for this crowd, buddy." The words hit me like a physical blow. Old. The laughter around me suddenly felt like a mocking chorus. The air thickened with humiliation, a hot flush rising up my neck. "Look, just leave, okay, before I make you." My stomach twisted. The false sense of belonging shattered, leaving me exposed, raw. I turned, my jaw tight, and pushed my way back through the crowd, the music now a grating assault on my ears. I stood across the street, hidden in the deep shadows of the old trees, watching the house. My blood boiled. Humiliation, anger. How dare he? How dare he expose me, dismiss me? The lights of the party pulsed, a mocking beacon in the night. The laughter still drifted out, taunting. I clenched my fists, the nails digging into my palms. I wasn't just some random older guy. I was something else, something they hadn't accounted for, and they would pay for that oversight. I watched, my eyes burning, waiting for an opportunity, and then I saw it. A drunken girl stumbling out the front door, leaning heavily on the host. He was helping her, slowly, painstakingly, down the street, away from the house. My chance, the universe, it seemed, was on my side after all. I moved like a phantom, my anger a cold guiding hand, around the side of the house, through the overgrown bushes, the leaves scratching against my jacket, the back door unlocked. Of course, so incredibly careless. I slipped inside. The kitchen was a disaster zone. Spilled drinks, empty chip bags. I moved quickly, silently, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Up the stairs. I knew this layout. I'd studied it from the outside, imagined it. The closet, the large, dark closet in the upstairs hallway, my temporary bunker. I pulled the heavy door shut, plunging myself into absolute darkness. The muffled sounds of the party, now a distant, fading echo. The wait was agonizing, hours. I heard the last of the partygoers stumble out. The music finally died. The house settled into a profound, unnerving silence. My muscles ached from being cramped in the dark. But the anger, the humiliation, it kept me warm. When I finally emerged, the house was a tomb. The air was humid, smelling of stale beer and forgotten joy. I pulled out my pocket knife, the familiar weight of the cold steel in my hand, the sharp click of the blade locking into place. I moved through the upstairs, checking bedrooms. Empty. He wasn't there. Not yet. I crept to the top of the stairs, peering down into the living room. Two figures sprawled out on the couches, dead to the world. One, the larger one, looks like the host. Perfect. My steps were silent, deliberate, as I began my descent. 1 step, 2. The old wood barely whispered beneath my weight. I was halfway down, the knife held loosely, almost casually, at my side. The shadows stretched long and distorted around me, dancing with the faint streetlights filtering through the windows. The air was thick with the scent of stale alcohol and sleep. And then, the bathroom door, just off the living room, clicked open. A sudden jarring sound in the heavy silence. He emerged, the host. His eyes, still blurry with sleep, snapped open, locking onto me and onto the knife in my hand. His face went from confusion to pure, unadulterated terror in an instant. "Hey!" he bellowed, a guttural roar that ripped through the quiet house, shattering the silence. "Who the hell are you?" My blood ran cold. Panic. Pure, blinding panic. He saw me. He saw me. I didn't think. I just reacted. Spun around, scrambling back up the stairs, my feet pounding, slipping on the old wood. I heard him shout again, "Wake up! Get up! Call the police!" The two figures on the couch stirred, groaning, confused. I burst into the nearest bedroom, slammed the door shut, and frantically dragged the heavy dresser in front of it, scraping wood on wood. My heart was a drum solo against my ribs. I could hear their voices now, rising in alarm, right outside the door. "He's in here. Call the cops." Police, the word echoed in my head, cold and sharp. I was trapped in a room I had invaded. I could hear the host's angry shouts, the frantic whispers of his friends. "He's got a knife! Don't go in!" My eyes darted around the room. The window, my only way out. It was old, grimy. I grabbed the flimsy screen, tore at it with my bare hands, the mesh ripping with a satisfying shriek. Cold night air rushed in. I threw the window open, hoisted myself onto the sill. Below, the garage roof. A long jump, a desperate leap. I pushed off, felt the sharp crack of old wood beneath my hands as I launched myself into the night. My feet hit the car roof with a jarring impact, then slid down the windshield onto the hood, then the gravel driveway. I scrambled to my feet, ignoring the searing pain in my ankle, and bolted into the woods. The trees became a blur, branches whipping at my face. Behind me, the wail of sirens, growing louder, closer. Blue and red lights pulsed through the trees, painting the darkness in flashes. They were coming. But I was faster. I was the ghost in the woods, and I was gone. I didn't stop until my lungs burned, until the siren's wail was nothing but a faint memory. I collapsed in the damp undergrowth, the cold earth pressing against my cheek. My ankle throbbed, a dull ache, but I was free. They didn't catch me. They never will. They thought they could dismiss me, humiliate me, but I showed them. I was there. I was in their house, and they'll never forget it. The thrill of it, the pure, unadulterated adrenaline. It's a taste I'll never forget. They thought they were safe. They thought they were in control. But in the end, it was just a game, and I won.
Okay, so Chloe found this place, this Airbnb. Said it was like totally off-grid, perfect for a digital detox. And honestly, after like 3 months of insane crunch time at work, I was totally down. No signals, no emails, just us and trees. Lots of trees. As we pulled up, our car, which, yeah, it's pretty new and shiny, looked kind of out of place against all that deep green and brown. The air hit you, right? So clean, smelled like pine and like fresh dirt. All that city stress just evaporated. For like 5 minutes anyway. This was gonna be perfect. Turns out it was perfect. For a nightmare. The owner was kind of a weird dude. Not like creepy weird, just intense. His eyes just kind of stared at you, even when he was smiling. Gave us the key, did the whole rustic charm spiel, and then just ghosted. Disappeared back into the woods. Chloe was already bouncing, all, "Oh my god, Leon, look at this fireplace, this is so cozy," while I was, naturally, trying to get a bar on my phone. Nothing. Zip. Nada. First night, though, was actually pretty chill. We cooked some ramen, listened to music off my old iPod, just talked. It was like genuinely relaxing. Exactly what we needed. Then, night 1. That's when things started getting weird. Like, properly weird. We were trying to fall asleep, and suddenly, this... right outside our bedroom window. I swear there wasn't a cloud in the sky. "What is that?" Chloe whispered, pulling the covers up to her chin.
Oh.
Then, the whole house just groaned, like a deep, unsettling groan coming from right underneath us. I tried to laugh it off. Old houses, babe, they're just talking. And then the porch light, which was like a solid light bulb, just flickered. Once, twice, and died. Chloe let out this little yelp. Okay, that's not charming, Liam. I grabbed my phone, the screen blinding us in the dark, dialed the host. My hand was actually shaking a little, which was kind of pathetic. "Hey, it's Liam from the Airbnb?" I tried to sound like it was no biggie. "Just wondering, are the pipes a bit leaky? And the lights are acting up?" His voice when he answered was super calm, almost too calm. "Oh, Liam, my apologies. Old cabin, you know, settles a bit at night. And the power grid out here. Bit temperamental with the old trees. Nothing to worry about at all. Part of the rustic charm." He sounded so convincing, I almost bought it. Almost. But that knot in my stomach, that cold, heavy feeling just wouldn't quit. Chloe was already convinced the place was haunted, trying to be optimistic. The next day, we tried to forget about it. Fresh air, babe, I told Chloe. It'll clear our heads. We went for a long hike, like seriously deep into the woods, just to get away from the cabin. It was awesome. Fresh air, sun dappling through the leaves, totally chill. But when we got back, hours later, the cabin felt weird, just off, like someone had been in it. I dismissed it as paranoia. That evening, as I was settling down, wanting to listen to a podcast, I reached for my new noise-canceling headphones. I always leave them charging right on the nightstand. Confused. They weren't there. Chloe? I called out, my voice tight. Have you seen my headphones? No, I thought they were right there. Dude, my stomach just dropped. We searched everywhere, under the bed, in the bags, even the bathroom. Nothing. It has to be here, Chloe kept saying, her voice all wobbly. Maybe you put them in your backpack by accident. But I knew I hadn't. That sick, cold feeling. They weren't stolen exactly. They were just moved. Like from one spot on the nightstand to another, or from the nightstand to the top of the dresser. Not missing, just not where I left them. And that was somehow worse. That feeling of being watched, of something being profoundly wrong, just clung to us. We spent the second evening on edge, jumping at every little creak, every rustle of leaves outside. Sleep? Forget about it. It was a constant battle against the growing anxiety, this creeping dread that someone was here. Sometime in the middle of that night, I woke up, my bladder practically screaming. The house was dead quiet, except for Chloe's soft breathing next to me. I padded barefoot across the cold wooden floor towards the bathroom. As I passed the master bedroom closet, I thought I heard something. A super faint sound, a soft whisper of air, a tiny shuffle. I froze. My heart went into overdrive. Hello? I whispered into the pitch black. Nothing. Just the profound, unsettling silence. You're just freaking out, Liam. It's an old house. I made it to the bathroom, flushed the toilet, and headed back. On the way, I grabbed a laundry basket from the closet, thinking I'd sort clothes in the morning. The closet door creaked open, then closed. I didn't see anything. I didn't realize anything. With dawning horror, but looking back, that was the closest I came to walking straight into a nightmare. The next day, we were back in town, hoping a change of scenery would help. But then, this insane downpour hit, like out of nowhere, totally cutting our trip short. We raced back to the cabin, drenched, freezing, just desperate for a hot shower. The second our tires crunched on the gravel driveway, this wave of pure dread just slammed into me. Something was wrong. The front door was ajar, barely. Chloe, wait, I hissed, but it was too late. She was already halfway in. I rushed in behind her, the heavy, damp air of the cabin pressing in, thick with an unseen tension. And then, I heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible sound of something or someone moving rapidly, just out of sight. Deep inside the master bedroom. A soft thud, like a heavy door closing. Chloe, oblivious in her hurry, just bolted for the bathroom, slamming the door. I stood frozen in the living room, every nerve screaming. The muffled sound of movement, then a distinct clink from the master bedroom closet. My heart slammed against my ribs like a jackhammer. Someone was in there. The toilet flushed. Chloe emerged from the bathroom, oblivious, toweling her hair. Her footsteps moved towards the closet. Just grabbing my clean pajamas, she called out, reaching for the door. I couldn't sleep, just lay there, wide awake, the feeling of being watched prickling my skin. Every shadow was a monster. Just before dawn, I heard it. A sharp, metallic clink from near the front door. I knew that sound. It was the umbrella stand. Someone was leaving. Or trying to. Adrenaline just ignited in me. I sprang from the bed, a primal roar tearing from my throat. "Hey!" I bellowed, lunging towards the sound. He was there. A dark, shadowy figure trying to slip out the door. I tackled him, hitting the floor with a bone-jarring impact. This wasn't some dream. This was real. My fists flew, fueled by pure, blinding rage. Every hit, every grunt of pain from him was a desperate scream of, "Get out! Get out of my home!" He fought back, hard, surprisingly strong, but I was beyond terrified. I was furious. How dare he? How dare he invade our space, our peace? I landed a solid punch to his jaw, felt the satisfying thwack, and he reeled back, stumbling. I could feel his hot, ragged breath on my face, smell his stale sweat as his body thrashed against mine. Chloe's scream pierced the air, sharp and raw. She was already scrambling, dialing 911, her voice a frantic buzz. I twisted, found an opening, and managed to get my knee on his chest, pinning him to the floor. "Stay down, you bastard!" I snarled, the words tearing from my throat. The wail of the sirens grew louder, closer, a terrifying crescendo of pure, blessed relief. Then, out of the chaotic, pulsing lights, they burst in. Blue uniforms. Hands grabbed the guy from me, pulling him up. Hard. My eyes were still blurry from the adrenaline, my chest heaving, but then the flashlights hit his face. And it was him. Him. Mr. Thorne. Our host. It was like a physical punch to the gut. No, worse. It was like the world just tilted sideways. Our host. The guy who smiled and gave us the key. He was the one. My legs just gave out beneath me, and I sank to the floor. Chloe rushed to me, holding me tight, both of us shaking uncontrollably. They dragged him out into the flashing lights, his face just blank. I just stared at him, my mind screaming. He was gone, arrested. We didn't stay, not for another second. As soon as the police were done getting our statements, we packed whatever we could grab, half blinded by shock, and got out of there. The sound of our tires on that gravel driveway leaving the cabin behind was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. We found a motel 15 miles down the road and spent the night huddled together, just trying to process everything. We got a refund from Airbnb, obviously, but that was just money. The feeling of safety? That was gone. Forever. I mean, how do you ever trust a secluded getaway again? Now, weeks later, back in the city, the cabin is empty. But the memories, they're permanent fixtures in my mind. Every creak of the floorboards in our apartment, every rustle of the leaves outside our window, every unexplained sound. I check the locks twice, 3 times, not because I'm scared, but because I know what's out there. That rage from that night, the one that made me take him down, that's still in me. It's not a panic now, it's a warning, a constant hum under my skin. He tried me, but he made a mistake. He just made me ready. Always ready. Because you never know who's watching, even after they're gone.